Hello friends, I am Chevee. Welcome to my shed. How are you today? How's life in your world? How's things where you are? I hope everything is good and great and wonderful and fantastic with you. Today I almost cried, and not in a good cry kind of way, in a very, very bad cry kind of way. And I got really overwhelmed, like to the point of nausea, and almost threw up. And it all has to do with money. And particularly the lack thereof currently in my life. If you've been watching the channel for any length of time, hopefully you know that I've been going through a process that requires a lawyer. That's all I'm gonna say on it for right now. I'll be able to tell you more about it soon, but lawyers are expensive. Lawyers are very expensive. And this week kind of is the final stage of that process. And, monies are due and I don't have it. Just plain and simple, don't have it. And on top of that, it's personal property taxes. I don't have money for that. My car needs tires. I don't have money for that. And all of this stuff in my head, I have to pay for more legal things very soon. I have to make a whole bunch of changes to my personal finances and all of that stuff. And I don't have the money for any of that. And I got super overwhelmed, and it's a feeling that I'm very, very familiar with. And I don't know how much you know about my past with money, but when I first got back out of the Marines, I landed a job at a car dealership, and I ended up doing very well for myself there. Very well relative to West Virginia. I think in 2002, 2003, I was making, or 2003, I was making like $36,000, which is really good money for a young person in West Virginia in that time. And I did well for myself, and I started a family, and we bought a house. Thankfully, we bought a house that was ridiculously cheap. It was intended to be a starter home for us. We wanted out of the apartment that we were living in, and we bought a starter home. And the idea was to live there for like 2 or 3 years. We ended up living there for almost 8 years and had 2 kids in a 700 square foot house. It was super tiny. But had we not done that, had we bought a house that we couldn't afford, it would have been a nightmare. But we bought a house that was so cheap that, we could have afforded it on minimum wage, so. And because at one point, my job was paying barely minimum wage, right? It's because that job that I had that paid well, I lost it. I didn't lose it. I just couldn't. It was killing me, literally, physically, just draining me. And so I quit that job to take another job, and then I became a mechanic. And when that happened, our finances took a huge hit, and we got in super deep credit card debt, and we had to get ourselves out. So we did some credit counseling and got ourselves out, but it took almost 5 years, 4.5 years. And during that time, we were okay, but we had this credit counseling thing looming over us, and we couldn't afford anything extra. So we spent nothing on ourselves. We spent everything we had on the kids during that time. And then I ended up getting a job with the state and started to work my way up financially there. And it was only been within the last 4 or 5 years that I've been able to make enough money to be able to afford this house and stuff, right? Like the last 2 years, or the last year and a half I worked at my previous job, I got like a $12,000 pay raise. That's how little I was making. And that $12,000 pay raise is the only reason I was able to stay in this house. Because at that time, she wasn't working or bringing anything in, and there was no way we could have made it. But that time we were desperately poor, I would say. We were on the verge of losing everything. It was, utilities getting shut off, barely able to afford groceries, taking any handout we could get because we were desperate. It was bad. And that feeling, that overwhelming feeling of I am ruined, I felt it today. And it hit really hard. And it shouldn't. I'm not ruined. I'm okay, right? I can make the tires on the car last. I don't have to pay the personal property taxes right this minute. The lawyer I do have to pay right this minute, and I don't have that money. It's going to be another month. It's going to be a little while before I have to take a large financial hit out of my paycheck. I'm okay. I have a tiny little leeway, but I have to figure out how to pay the lawyer right now, and that just hit me so hard today. It's tough. Being poor is very, very, very tough, and I'm not poor. I'm not poor. It's just that I have a lot of, I have a expensive house. I have utilities. I have children. And there's not a lot of room for extra. And very soon there will be zero extra. Like there'll be no money left over. There'll be like $10 a paycheck or something that I'll be able to save or have go to get ice cream once a month or something like that. And that feeling, so I've been feeling it for the past week or so. And if you've watched the channel in the early days, I was constantly trying to find a way to make extra money. That's why I started this. I wanted to make extra money because we were not making it. And I was taking on jobs with Portal Games. That's how I got started with Portal Games. I was taking jobs in the gaming industry. Anything I could do to make $100 here or there, because $20 was a huge deal. That was groceries for us, right? So I was trying to find a way to make products. I tried to make signs. I tried to I know there was other stuff I attempted to make because I was trying, besides this, trying to make the maker videos, trying to find any outlet I could to make something that I could sell so that I could have extra income. And for the last 2 years, I haven't had that. I haven't needed it. I've been okay. Now, yeah, for the last 2 years. Because about 2 years ago, the family moved out 3 years ago, and it took me that first full year to get my finances back under control, to be able to pay off all the stuff that I owed. And so the last 2 years have been this, like, I don't want to say a breeze, but I've been able to pay bills as they come in. I've kept on top of everything, and I've been able to squirrel away a couple of $100s here and there that I could spend on the girls for Christmas or whatever. And so I've been okay, right? And what I've discovered is I've been able to do things like, try art just for the sake of trying art. I've been, working on things that I want to work on, not specifically because I'm trying to sell them, but because I want to do it. And that's been really relieving. But I had that feeling today of, how do I come up with this money? What can I make? What can I sell? What can I, do I start a new website? Do I find a new thing that I can do that I can quickly make some cash? How do I do that? Do I play the stocks with the no money that I have? There's got to be a way for me to quickly make a couple of $100 so that I can make it through the next few months, because that's the runway that I need. And that feeling sucks. The feeling of I don't have enough money and I'm also powerless to change that situation. I'm not powerless. I could go get another job. It's that simple. It wouldn't be difficult for me to go get a part-time job. But I have children, and I have responsibility to them to, especially right now for soccer season. 3, 4, 5 nights a week I'm busy. When am I going to take on a part-time job? I used to write articles on Upwork. That was something that I was doing to generate income, but it basically makes nothing, and there's not enough work there that pays anything for me to make extra money doing that. So I was really overwhelmed, and I was on the verge of tears. And this is not a cry for help. I hope that doesn't come across that way. I'm just letting you know how I feel. I'm not asking for anything. Please don't feel obligated to do anything. If you feel like you want to help, there's plenty of links in the video description to Amazon and PayPal and Patreon and all that stuff. If you feel like helping, great. I'm not going to take that away from you, but I'm not asking for anything. Please don't. Yeah. I'm just letting you know that I felt that feeling for the first time in 2 years, that I need to make money. How am I going to do it? And it sucks. It's not a good thing. It made me nauseous. It made me physically want to vomit. And that's tough. It's not a good place to be. The good news is I have M. M will help me. M will help me get through this. I have talent. Talent will help me get through this. I have two amazing children that will help me get through this, and they're very understanding of the situation. And I'm mentally in a much better place than I was 3 years ago. A much better place. So it's okay. But it almost felt like PTSD, right? It almost felt like I needed to run, and I have nothing to run from. I have nothing but love in this house, right? I have nothing but people who support me and want to see me succeed. That includes you. You're in this house right now. You just didn't know it. It's tough. But, you know, it's a growing and learning process, just like everything else in my life. I will figure this out. We'll get through it, and it'll all be better on the other side. Thanks for listening. I appreciate that very much. Thank you for being here as always. Thank you for liking and commenting, subscribing, being amazing friends and wonderful people. I really appreciate you. And I'll see you again tomorrow. Today's word you should know to sound smart is confabulate. It is a verb meaning to chat or converse informally. Jared proceeded to confabulate about the wines most recently added to the family cellar. Confabulate. CONFABULATE.